Thanks, Mr. Chairman, and gentlemen, to each of you, thanks for your service, thanks for your leadership, and to all the men and women that serve under you, please convey to them our heartfelt thanks for their great commitment to freedom. Admiral, I'll echo what the chairman said to start with. We're going to miss you. You've been such a great asset to our country, and you've also been a good friend. So we're sorry to see you go, but we're very thankful for your service. There's a press report today that there may have been the use of chemical weapons in Syria. There are allegations being thrown on from both sides, the rebel side and the government side. Any information you can tell us about that with respect to the use of chemical weapons, particularly in the Aleppo area where it's alleged?
Sir, I think I'd best take that for the record and provide that at a classified level.
Okay. With regard to Benghazi, Admiral, I know you were put on high alert during the course of the attack that took place at the mission and the annex. There were lots of failures, it looks like, from an intel standpoint, as well as some issues of leadership regarding what should have been done. Can you give us your look back now from the perspective that you had then with what you were being told, and give us a lessons learned on Benghazi?
Sir, I think my job from U.S. European Command was to serve, if you will, as the back office for Carter Ham. And I know Carter has been up and testified, and I understand he's going to provide a detailed, classified, for the record kind of tick-tock of how this unfolded. What we did and what I saw was immediately after the attack, we started chopping assets to General Ham, starting with ISR so we could get Predator coverage up overhead. We began moving, at General Ham's request, the Commander's in Extremis force, which was under his and my joint OPCON. He took control of that, moved it from Croatia to Sigonella. He requested, and we moved 2 fast teams, these Marine quick response teams, from Rhoda to Suda Bay and Crete. We spun up all of our C-130s and C-17s. We tried to, from a U.S. European Command perspective, to just push forces south and forward to General Ham. I think to the degree there are lessons learned here, you alluded to the intelligence piece, which I think is really the critical thing, because we have to defend hundreds of these critical locations all around the world. We need to ensure that as the intelligence breaks, we are reacting as quickly as we can. Time and distance are a tyranny of their own. I think the bottom line from this particular incident, from a EUCOM perspective, is the value of having these bases in Europe so that we can move these forces forward. And even within the European area, we can move them from the north to the south and get as close to the action as possible to support the combatant commander who's in charge, in this case, Carter Ham. So that's a quick overview, sir. I can provide a little bit more on the record from a classified perspective as well. Okay.
Well, we'll ask that you do that on both of those questions relative to Syria and any additional classified info on this. General Kelly, during the Southcom budget hearings for FY 2013, General Frazier commented on the capability of the Joint STARS platform in the region. It was successfully being utilized to interdict drug trafficking and detection and monitoring of wide area surveillance. Currently, the 116th from Robbins flies 2 Joint STARS missions per month in support of your operation at Southcom from a counter-narcotic standpoint. Can you enlighten us as to the use of Joint STARS and what future plans do you have to leverage this asset as well as other ISR platforms in your region?
Senator, JSTAR is very, very important in what we do in the counter-drug effort. We're probably going to lose our JSTAR support because of sequestration, so that's essentially off the table, but they're hugely effective in that wide area look as we begin the process of identifying the drug traffickers as they come up out of the northern tier of, Colombia, primarily Colombia and Venezuela. If we lose that, makes it harder. But that's the reality. All ISR, and we use anything, much of the ISR we use as an example, are ISR that are just out on training missions. We have like bombers as an example that are going to go up and train anyways. U.S. Air Force will vector them down to the Caribbean area. They get their training, they get their flight time, and they help us out. So a lot of it was whatever fell off the table or whatever I or General Frazier, better than I am at it, what he could beg out of the services. That basically is going away. So it'll make it infinitely more difficult to identify the patterns in the not-too-distant future.
Well, I hope with maybe some flexibility that we're given to all of your commands in the CR that hopefully will get completed in the next couple of days, maybe we can figure out a way to continue to utilize some of those platforms. General Kelly, again, with the demise of Hugo Chavez, what can you tell us about the future leadership in Venezuela, plus relationships with the United States? Is it going to improve? Is it going to denigrate? Which way is it going to go?
Senator, I think it's safe to say it's essentially the rising stars now that Chavez is gone are from the same point of view, same old crowd, if you will. The expectation is that the vice president will win the election in April. But I think the senator knows this. The economy there, the oil production infrastructure, all of that is really on the edge. It's a very, very violent country. So the vice president, when he wins that election or is likely to win that election, is going to inherit all of the problems that already existed there, and they're pretty critical. The one difference is he does not have the charisma that Chavez had with at least 51% of the country. So he's got his hands full, but we don't anticipate, and it's really a State Department question, I think, but from my perspective, we don't anticipate any real change between our country and the Venezuelan government, at least in the short term.
Admiral Stavridis, I was not a proponent of the START treaty, primarily because it did not address tactical nuclear weapons. Now, the Russians, we know, have continued to, if not increase their arsenal, certainly modernize their inventory of tactical weapons. What information can you give us relative to the continued production of nuclear weapons or the modernization issue relative to tactical versus strategic by the Russians?
Sir, at an unclassified level, you are correct that the Russians continue to have a significant inventory of tactical nuclear weapons. They are maintained, they are upgraded. It's part of their planning and their theory. I would like to come back again with a classified answer that would give you a little bit more detail, but it is a concern, and I watch it closely from a NATO perspective.
Okay, well, again, if you will, follow up with us on that in a classified setting. Thanks, Mr. Chairman.